Hello, everyone. Sometimes when I'm reading through patterns for little kids, I look at the patterns like, I know who that would be perfect for. That'd be perfect for me. That appeals to my inner child. And the problem is, since the pattern was made for a little kid, it's not going to fit me. I don't know if other people have this problem that I do when I'm looking at YouTube videos and I make the assumption that everyone is my size, even though that's clearly not the case. Or on the internet in general. But for reference, I'm 5'7". So no one is looking at me and thinking I'm a little kid. They might think I just graduated college, but that's about as young as people think I am. So I haven't let the fact that I'm technically too big for these patterns stop me. There's actually a way to figure out how to convert these patterns so I can have the little kid experience and wear it on my own body. And it's math. You probably guessed it. You saw the title of this video. You knew what you were clicking into. Anyway, I figured today I would show you the process of me converting the measurement of a little kid garment into a garment that I could wear. So let me change up the setup. You know what's coming, right? Welcome back to my ceiling, everybody. This is where I'm going to show you the math. So, the pattern that I'm going to make is called Hermione. I'm going to insert a picture of that now. It's pretty adorable, right? Now, when you're making a little kid pattern, any person who's making a pattern for a little kid is going to have multiple sizes. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you will get a size meant for an 11-year-old boy, which sometimes means that I can fit into it as a 29-year-old woman. But often, you don't have that. So here, you're going to look at they're going to split it. They're going to split it up into several different sizes. And when you do it, you want to start with the biggest size. So that way you have a sense of, this is the stitch I'm comparing it to. And it's going to tell you the finished measurement. So that way you know how big you're going to make it and how big it's going to fit the kid that you're making it for. Usually they'll have two different measurements. They'll have the circumference of your chest, and they'll have the length. The one you're going to use is the circumference of your chest. Because most of the time with knitting, you're either working down or you're working up. You're not really working side to side. So if the length isn't the right length, just knit more. That part's pretty easy. But if you got the circumference off, that one's a little bit hard to do. So for the Hermione, the chest circumference is 29.5 inches. And I think this book was written by an American. Can you guys see that? There you go. You would think I would have filmed enough of these videos by now that my head wouldn't be blocking the number you're trying to look at, but here we are. Anyway, it's 29.5 inches. It doesn't have it in centimeters because this is an American book. And then the next thing you're going to look at is the amount of stitches it wants you to cast on the needle. So we're going to draw the divider line. And it wants me to cast on 192 stitches. And we got ourselves a fraction. So now, I don't know why I just turned my phone off. I was going to use the calculator bit in a moment. But now, the important thing for you to do is to measure yourself. So, or in this case, measure me. So I'm pretty sure I know my measurement already. But if I were to make this for me, I would have to measure it against the widest part of my chest, which for me is, as expected, 37 inches. So, we're going to draw our second fraction once I roll back up the tape measure. A knitting tape measure is not knitting, or sewing tape measure is best for this, like a more flexible one. But if you don't have that, you got yarn. Just use yarn to do it and then bring it to your flat roller and measure the yarn along that. Easy hack. Anyway, we're going to draw our equal sign in the middle. 37 inches. And now we're going to solve for X. That is how many stitches you're going to actually cast on. So, in order to do that, I'm going to multiply 192 by 37. And I could just use a calculator for this, but I want to show you the demented way I do multiplication, so here we go. I learned this in elementary school, but I didn't reach the high schooler teacher, so when my high school teacher for Algebra 2 honors saw me do this, he accused me of playing checkers on my math paper. And it's like, sir, it's still getting you the answer, right? For some reason, I did very poorly with Algebra 2 honors compared to other math classes. Not sure why that was. Geometry was amazing. Geometry didn't actually have numbers. There we go. So we're going to put 37 up here. I'm going to put 192 here. So now I just multiply each number in the box. I put the 10 digit up here. I put the 1 digit right here. So 1 times 7, that's 7. If there's a 0, I put a 0. 7 times 9, 63. 7 times 2, that's 14. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 7 is 27. 3 times 2 is 6. And then I add them along all the different lines. So we got 4, 3 plus 6 plus 1 is 10. So we're going to put 0 there. We're going to put a 1 right here. 2 sevens is 14, plus 6 is 20, plus that is 21, so that's that. And we're going to bring up the 2. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 3 is 7. So this is our number, 7104. Now we're just going to take that number, and we're going to divide this number by 29.5. So this is the demented way I do division. I need a lot of space to do long division. So now we're going to do 7104. We're going to do 29.5. So here, I'm going to do 2950. That is, let's see. I had to move the decimal place over how many spaces there. It would have been a lot easier if it wasn't a decimal, but it is what it is. Anyway, this is just going to be straight up 1 because I just transposed the number. I would say at least 100 times in that case. So 4 minus 0, that's 4. I can't subtract that, so that is going to be 6. That is going to be 11. That's going to be 10. That's going to be 10. So that's another 5. That's 1. That is 4. It's going to go in easily at least another 100 times, right? So I'm going to put 100 here. That's 2950. 4, 0. 1 can't go from 9, so we move that down to 3. We put this to 11. That's 2, 1. easily can't go in another 100 times. It probably can go in 50 times. Or I could just multiply that by 2. Sometimes it requires more this. If it's just like this, I can just use the regulars. That's 10, 19, 4, 5. And we're going to move the decimal point, so 59. All right. I'm going to do this 20 times. That's going to be 590. So that's 4, 0. You can't take 9 from 0. You can't take 2 from 5. So that's now 0. That's 12 again. That's now 11. That's now 10. Okay, that's 1. And this is 11, 640. You can take another 20 from it. So that's 590. 4. Can't subtract that, so that's now 11. That's 24. 20. So it's obviously going to be another decimal, right? But now I can add all these beauties up. So as I erase the 20, there we go. So that's 240. Plus whatever the change is. The change in this case is not terribly important. So we're just going to do 240 stitches. And that is a ratio. Now, with the Hermione, there is a caveat here. So, it says, begin Hermione lace pattern with round 1 of the chart or following the written instructions below. You'll work repetitions of the lace pattern around the garment. So when you're working the lace pattern, it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to erase this now. And then I realized I need to get one more piece of information I forgot to get. So I'm going to get that information and then show you the rest of the math for how you can make this garment. All right. So the next important consideration is there an internal pattern in the garment? Now, on the Hermione garment, there absolutely is. She has this lovely lacework pattern that goes on the bottom part until just right where it hits the bodice part. In like a dress, it would be called like the Empress waistline or the Empire waistline, in which it turns solid. So that way, like, everything up top is covered, but then you can have like a cool like lace airy pattern. So in order to do this lace airy pattern, which I realized I didn't have, it is repeated over the course of 8 stitches. So the pattern is 8 stitches. So I need to make sure, I'm pretty sure I know what the answer is going to be in this case, but you would need to make sure that this number here that you created goes evenly into this number. Otherwise, when you make the garment, you're going to have a case where you have part of the pattern and you just have like a partial pattern. And honestly, that doesn't look very good. So I can already tell, since this is 24 and this is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. Thanks, First in Math, for that. Not a sponsor. So, yeah. This is going to go very easily. This is going to go very easily into that. So, the pattern here tells me I was going to need to repeat the pattern 24 times. So in this case, I know the repeat of this is going to be 30 times. So I would know that I'm repeating the pattern 30 times throughout each row. And that would be enough for me. Now, if you get to a point, now this number happened to work out pretty easily, but if you're at a point where the pattern itself doesn't work, make sure that you increase the amount of stitches to the point where the pattern would work, and instead of decrease, because remember, if you decrease, it's not going to fit you. If you increase, you're just going to have a little bit more looseness than you would like. Now, of course, there's a caveat to these numbers working, and that's if you follow gauge. Gauge is the knitter way of saying, like, this is how tight this garment is supposed to be in order for all these measurements to work, which for the Hermione garment is 26 stitches with 36 rows, should be 4 inches in the stockinette stitch and smallest needles blocked. And for the lace pattern, it would be 26 stitches over 32 rows, 4 inches over the lace pattern with the largest needles blocked. Now, this is when I admit that I'm a very bad knitter. I don't like doing gauge. The tension I do is the tension is going to turn up. So this is how I work around it. So say I messed up bad. Say my tension was not where I wanted it to be. Or my tension, or more accurately, my tension was where I expect to be, but not where the book was expecting it to happen. So instead of the 37 inches that I was expecting my garment to be, it ends up being 43 when I measure it. So when that happens, with the 240 stitches, I do another ratio. I just multiply these two numbers again, and then divide it by this. And that'll give me the proper measurement for the garment so that it will fit me. Because I know my tension isn't really going to change. I mean, I'm relatively steady at this point. I've been knitting for a long time. But at least this, and then of course, just like before, in order to get the proper amount of repetitions, you got to make sure that this number is divisible by 8. Or divisible by the number that the pattern is. And that way it will still fit. And that is how you, I guess jerry rig would be the term, a children's garment into a garment for an adult. Because why should kids have all the cool things, right? That was today's entertainment. Have a nice day.